2 years ago, I decided to quit social media cold turkey. No more scrolling, no more likes, no more notifications. In this video, I'm going to talk about 3 benefits that rarely get mentioned, but they have completely flipped my life around. So much so that I went from someone who failed 3 subjects in high school to someone who has now worked as a software engineer at Fortune 500 companies like Dell Technologies, AMD, Synopsys. From someone who was once a serial procrastinator to now consistently reading books, lifting weights at the gym, working on my business, and training martial arts 6 days a week. So let's get right into it. You have a set of beliefs about yourself, and this is called your self-image. It's about your beliefs about who you are, the way you look, your personality, your abilities, and how you think other people perceive you. One of the truths about human psychology is that we subconsciously compare ourselves to those around us, and this is called social comparison theory. And this comparison impacts our self-image. So there are 2 types of comparisons. One is the upward comparison. In this comparison, we typically compare ourselves with someone who we think is better than us. Now that guy could be more successful, he could be more fitter, he could be better than you in some domain. Now this can sometimes actually inspire you to improve and become like him, but more often than not, this could make you feel inadequate. Then there's something called downward comparison, where you actually compare yourself to someone who's not doing as good as you in a particular domain. And this can actually make you feel better about yourself, but it could also be a problem. You can actually get too complacent thinking that, oh, you're just better than this guy and this guy's pretty trash and you're better than him, so you can actually get quite complacent. Think of this comparison like a subconscious process. It's like a mental scoreboard that you're like constantly running, and this scoreboard sort of dates where you stand in the hierarchy of people and what exactly should your self-image be like. So in the years before social media, people would compare themselves to those around them within the same town, within the same cities, within the same village. And some people were above them, so they made upward comparisons, and some people were below them, so they made downward comparisons. They got kind of an even size of both these comparisons. But that changed as soon as social media came into the picture. With social media, you can now connect with anyone in any corner of the world. Each time that I was now browsing Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, I was now seeing the highlights of people who were exceptional at the things that they did. Like, this is the kind of stuff that gets most of the views, right? People like watching exceptional things, and this is what the algorithm starts promoting them, and this is what you're constantly getting: exceptional person after exceptional person. For example, you could be this guy who has been dedicated to lifting weights at the gym, and he's been lifting weights for like the 5 years. He's been very disciplined, eating right, sleeping right, but then one day he starts scrolling through social media and he sees this 14-year-old Asian girl outlifting him. Then on the next reel he sees some 99-year-old grandma outlifting him, and the next 1,000 reels he sees all these bodybuilders that are twice his size, pumping themselves full of steroids. They outlift him and outweigh. And now he begins to see himself as somewhat of a loser, somewhat inadequate, because he has only been making comparisons to those who are better than him. Only and only upward comparisons. Because things that are not exceptional, they do not come in the algorithm, they do not go viral. So all these downward comparisons are missing. And this gives you a skewed perspective about yourself. You actually begin to develop the self-image of a loser, even though realistically or technically you could be better than 90% of the world at that thing. But since you're only watching the top 1%, your sample is messed up. So this was the very first benefit that I saw when I quit social media. Like, my self-image became a lot better. I was more content with the things that I was doing. For example, I was now happy with the number of books that I was reading in a month, because I was not constantly seeing a bunch of reels about some guy whose entire life is dedicated to reading, and he was reading 1 book every 3 days. Additionally, I was now happy being a software engineer at the company that I was. It was a pretty decent company. It's because I was now not seeing all these software engineers at Google, Facebook, Netflix, Apple talking about their packages. So in short, my self-image was being adjusted by both upward comparisons and downward comparisons. So this gave me a true representation of where I lied in the social hierarchy. If you're the type of person that enjoys learning about ways on how to improve your life, then make sure that you click on the subscribe button, because I'm going to be making a lot more of these. The next benefit actually feels like a superpower, and I'm sure once you know about it, you're going to wish that you had quit social media far sooner. In the past, I used to be someone who used to check his phone a lot. Like, any packet of free time, I used to check my notifications and scroll for a bit. Even when I was like completely occupied with other activities, like even if I was studying, I would pick up my phone, check notifications, scroll for a bit, and keep it down. Every activity that I did was fragmented by me checking my social media. At one point of my life, I was checking my notifications like 50 to 60 times in a day, and I kind of lied to myself. I kind of told myself, this is completely fine, I'm just good at multitasking, I can switch between tasks. That's the sort of label I used to put on myself. I'm a multitasker. But I was wrong. Turns out that human beings cannot really multitask. What we actually do is switch our focus from one task to the other. And this actually costs you in terms of time and mental energy, because now you have to break focus from one task, refocus on the next task, and then commit to that task. That is actually the process that goes behind this multitasking. No, you're doing a lot of extra stuff, and this way you're pretty much bombing both tasks. You're not effective at either of them. Neither was I effective at studying, nor was I effective at giving a decent, articulate reply to someone. And because I was not just fully committed to one task, I could not achieve what people call a flow state. A flow state is this mental condition where you're like fully immersed, committed, and engaged to one task. And once that happens, you kind of lose track of time and you're no longer distracted. Everything starts feeling effortless and enjoyable, and this is where you do your best work. So multitasking and constantly checking my social media had robbed me from this amazing feeling of being in flow state towards something. But that is not where the damage of social media ends. It also destroyed my attention span. Like, your brain literally has this ability to rewire itself based on what actions you're performing. So think about a guy who plays football for 100 days in a row. Eventually he gets better at football. That's because his brain has now rewired itself to be better at football. He controls the ball better, he shoots the ball better, he dribbles with the ball better. All these things are due to rewiring of the brain. Now think about what exactly are you teaching your brain when you're scrolling through post after post, through reel after reel, just looking at one reel for 60 seconds before moving on to the next one. You are literally rewiring your brain to shorten your own attention span. And this is exactly what happened to me. Those hours of scrolling, they shortened my attention span. And that is why I used to quickly get bored of studying. That's why I also couldn't access this flow state, because within 12 minutes of doing an activity, right when I just used to get focused on it, I was bored. So quitting social media allowed me to experience flow state in activities, and it increased my attention span. My attention span went from 12 minutes to 4 to 5 hours a day. The next benefit of quitting social media is something that will impact every other area of your life. Let me tell you something about the type of person I was back then. Back in high school, I used to be like a serial procrastinator. My homework was incomplete, my assignments were due, and I never really studied for exams. Just a couple of days before the exams, I used to actually panic and start studying. And it's not like I did not have ambition. Like, I remember being ambitious. I remember wanting things. I wanted a good physique. I wanted to be a straight A student. But for some reason, I could never get myself to do the hard work. The reason why I couldn't get myself to do the hard work was because I was constantly stimulating myself with instant pleasure. I was playing video games, I was eating fast food, and worst of them all, I was browsing through social media for 4+ hours a day. You see, what happens when you're actually scrolling through social media and seeing all this novel, fun, hype-edited content is that your brain begins to release a lot of this pleasure chemical called dopamine. And think about it. What effort did you have to put in to get this pleasure, this dopamine? The truth is that dopamine that you get from such activities is unearned dopamine. You didn't have to move an inch to receive all this pleasure. And over time of staying in this comfort zone, staying sedated by the free dopamine, your body kind of gets used to it. And then when you actually want to do something hard, like work out at the gym or study for a math exam, then your body leaves you, it gives up on you. It's not used to doing hard work. It's used to being spoon-fed dopamine. So one thing I realized about myself after I gave up social media was that I was now a lot more motivated, a lot more disciplined, and I was a lot more willing to work hard towards something because I was no longer bombarding myself with unearned pleasure. Like, my mind had now understood that we are going to be required to work hard to feel any sort of dopamine. And ever since then, I've been able to consistently read, consistently work out, consistently study, consistently work on my side hustles. So these were the 3 real benefits that I experienced after quitting social media. But the brutal truth is that you might not experience a single one of them even after quitting social media for years. And here's why. Think about your body as a whole system. Now, you might be doing some behaviors that are actually good for the system. Like, you might actually have just quit social media, and that is really good for your body and mind. But you could also be doing a bunch of things that are harmful for the system. You could be someone who is watching pornography, eating fast food, playing video games, not having a proper sleep schedule, and all these negative habits could be undoing any of the positive habits that you're doing. So if you would like to work with me and quit all these bad habits and build a strong foundation for your life, then make sure that you click on the link in the description and book a one-on-one call with me. In this call, we'll discuss where you are, what your goals are, and how I can help you reach there. I only take on 5 clients at a time. Do it now so you don't miss out.